You like that, don't you? You like that?
Oh, that's not weird at all.
Catches people out. Always joke. It's the same woman who does the grit countdown. 5,
Oh,
4, 3, 2. Huw Davis, welcome in Huw Davis onto the podcast. CrossFit athlete, CrossFit box owner, father, altogether genuine nice guy. Long time, both long term and time.
Same thing.
Friend of mine. So mate, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really good, dude. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm very jealous of the fleece that you have. Like, I'm
It's
really jealous.
It's the world's snuggliest thing. I've also just realised that I was waving, which for a podcast is really unhelpful.
I'll clip that bit of the video, and that's what I'll put on Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. First question, which I haven't even told you, I'm going to ask you. I always end up talking about coffee. To my memory, you are one of the first people in my life, like in my adult life, who drank coffee, and you were properly like into coffee. Like from a young age, you have. I wouldn't say. I'll just say you have an obsession with coffee.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I was probably a coffee wanker before being a coffee wanker was cool. Mainly just because I just like really strong coffee, and it's really difficult to get decent tasting coffee, I think.
If you were in a coffee shop, what would you get?
An Americano with an extra shot or two, depending on the time of the day. The more shots are required.
An extra shot or two extra shots. So would that be 6 shots in total?
Depends. Off an Americano, it's probably 4 shots with an extra 2. So I think an Americano is normally 2 espressos and hot water, and then just a.
So would you have coffee before you train and then a pre-workout?
Not both, no, because generally it's either really strong coffee or it's pre-workout. I think if I put the 2 together, I think the chance of me sleeping ever again it's pretty minimal.
Right, so introduce yourself. Who is Huw? Which is a hard sentence to say.
That is, yeah. I have to make sure your teeth's in for that one. So my name is Huw. As Ricky has already said, I am a CrossFit box owner. I'm a CrossFit athlete. That's about all I do, really. It's kind of me. I'm a gym owner and in heavily inverted commas, an athlete.
You're a gym owner, so this is kind of like it's what I want to kind of come to at some point. You opened your gym as it is now during a pandemic.
Yeah, it was a great idea at the start, and we went off the idea of we actually signed the lease. It was either on the day that gyms got shut down back in March last year, or it was maybe the day before. Either way, it was within kind of 24 hours of gyms getting shut down. And we obviously there'd been the rumors through the whole week of, our gym's going to be shut down and this and that and the other. And then you have that thing of like, well, do you actually sign the lease, and what do we do with this? And I think everyone was probably in the same boat of lockdown, it'll not be long, a few weeks.
By May it'll all be over.
Yeah, and so and our plan behind this was really simple. We went off the idea of, right, let's sign the lease, because that then actually gives us what we thought would probably be about a month and a half, where we can just get the gym totally squared away. We don't have to worry, because for us, we potentially had quite a difficult transition, because we had a small venue in one place to begin with.
Mate, my door's just gone. Give us 2 seconds.
No worries, dude.
Yes, it's here. Brilliant. Thank you.
What did you get delivered?
Right, we're back.
What did you get delivered?
It's something for Lindsay, which is I near ripped the laptop off there. It's clearly, or you can't see that. Yeah, it's clearly some sort of book or football. It's hard to tell.
It's definitely. I think it's a football.
You said there you thought you would like almost have an extra month and a half to get ready.
Yeah, so we thought it'd be a month and a half of everything being shut. And the good thing for us, because we were moving units, that meant that actually we had complete time where we could just dedicate it to the new space, rather than what we planned on doing initially was through the transition period of like, well, we can't really do anything through the week because we're coaching and PTing and training and this and that and the other. What we'll do is we'll just set time aside at the weekends where we can just get it squared away. And we'll do that over the course. And I guess the positive thing for lockdown was that actually we didn't have to do that. It meant that we could do all our Zoom classes online, but we could actually dedicate the vast majority of our time to getting the gym ready. So in theory, this was our plan in terms of like, well, we have a month and a half now to get the gym ready, where we don't have to stress about everything else. So hence why I was like, opening a gym in a lockdown, that's a fucking genius idea. Why aren't more people doing this? This is this is your $1 million idea. And then and then lockdown continues and continues. And after a month and a half, you think, okay, no, this gym's pretty amazing. Like I've built my dream gym, built my vision, and no bugger can come to it. And it was just a case of it just dragged on, and eventually we did get to open, and then got shut down again.
There is a tongue-in-cheek saying in the fitness industry that this gym would be much better if there was no members, because it would be cleaner, everything would stay in space, nothing would break. You've literally lived that.
Yeah,
you created that.
I created that. Weirdly, so it is ever so strange having a gym with nobody in it. I think every gym has this thing of like, it would always be better without the members. I tell you what, have a gym with no members. It's weird.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we really pride ourselves on how amazing our members are, and we pride ourselves on our community. Without that, it's so strange. Like it's empty. Like it's totally devoid of life. Like it's such a strange thing, because you have this huge space, you have all these wonderful toys to play with, but actually it doesn't have any feeling. Like it doesn't have that spirit. It doesn't have anything, and it's so strange. So like, I'm not a fan. Not like, I think before, especially like coming from a commercial place, the gym would be better with no members. I tell you what, it fucking wouldn't. Like, no, absolutely not.
This is why I've always championed, and I'll still champion now, like during the pandemic, that CrossFit gyms have an advantage to when things go back to normal, because of the community feel that not just CrossFit gyms, independent gyms, that they have that feel that you can't build, you can't like manufacture. It just happens through the staff there and the members.
And I think that comes from, I think probably the best way to describe it to people that aren't, because I mean the fitness industry is lots of little bubbles, right? So people that aren't necessarily within that direct bubble, so of being either CrossFit box owner or an independent gym owner or something like that, if you are somewhere within the fitness industry, if you imagine how, so for example, if you teach classes, if you imagine the people that constantly come to your classes week in and week out, and you take that and you multiply it, and you multiply it by however many members your gym can manage, that's what you have. And the reason that you have those members come to your classes on a regular basis, or the reason that you have those PT clients that regularly come back to you on a regular basis, is because they recognize your passion. They recognize, what it is that you can do for them, where you take that and you just make it bigger. And that's really where the strength behind the independent gym and the CrossFit gym really does lie.
Your gym also has unique location, because you're literally the stereotypical CrossFit box, in that it's a warehouse in the middle of an industrial estate with a big long road beside it, and you've also got, which I discovered, you've got football pitches beside it. So it means if you ever wanted to do some sort of workout there, you can send them on a road down or run down the road, which I remember you had it marked out. The 400-meter mark and all that. And then you've even got the football pitches there. So your gym itself, talk us through the kit that you've got.
I think we've got everything that you could ever want in a CrossFit box. There's still a few more things that I'd like to add, but I don't really know where I'd want to, or where I could store them. Not necessarily.
All right, maybe that'll be more fun. What do you want that you don't have yet?
So additional things that I'd like to add.
Sam, don't listen.
Yeah, don't. So things that I'd like to add some more strongman stuff. So things like yokes, more sandbags, Atlas stones, just odd objects. Really weird equipment that actually, when you get to play with it, is really, really good fun. Some GHDs, and out with that, I think that's pretty much it. I think we have everything else. We've got
ski ergs.
Yeah, we've got ski ergs. So we've got.
I just don't remember seeing them.
We've got echo bikes. We've got echo bikes over assault bikes, mainly because they're built like an absolute tank. And I kind of got off the idea of the echo bike is way more challenging than the assault bike for too many reasons, but it's just a horrible piece of kit, which is another reason why I chose that over assault bike. We've got ski ergs, we've got rowers, we've got bike ergs, we've got more dumbbells than I can count. We've got bars, plates, we've got gymnastics rings, we've got ropes, we've got we've got everything I think that you could ever really need.
You've missed one thing there, which I remember that you have.
Is that a coffee machine?
It's your coffee machine.
There you go. See, I was going to say, we've got everything that you would need, whether or not you're a CrossFit athlete or whether you're just somebody that's looking to get a little bit healthier. And one of those things is definitely going to be coffee.
We were lucky enough to get down. It was in summer, as the when it was in summer. Was it even September? Maybe it was before that. I don't remember.
No, it must have been January.
Were Lindsay and
September,
I engaged?
October time. Yes, yeah, you were. Yeah, you were.
So we got engaged in August, back end of August. So it must have been after that. Yeah.
It must have been September, October time, because we weren't open until the 1st of August. Yeah. So
assuming
sometime around then.
Just for a second, let's hypothesize. Let's imagine times gone by when there was no pandemic. What would the first 4, 8, 12 weeks of a member's membership look like?
What even is life without COVID at the minute? So we're really lucky, and we work in a slightly different way to a lot of other CrossFit boxes. Our member journey is very much about trying to integrate people into the community as quickly as they possibly can. We recognize that the community is one of our strongest things, and therefore the quicker we can get people involved in that, the better. So what we don't do, which is very different to a lot of other boxes, we don't do an on-ramping program. Instead, what we do is we focus on having more coaches on the floor, which enables people to be coached on a much smaller group basis. So in terms of like with restrictions and stuff like that, and even after restrictions, we're not planning on having classes full of 20 plus people, because actually if you have that many people, it's very difficult to coach and to really elicit change within people with that number. So we still plan on running relatively small numbers. So the most people that we have in a class currently is 15, and that's even with restrictions. And with that, we'll always have 2 coaches. The good thing about that is that it means that people that require that additional attention, so those people that are very new to CrossFit, that perhaps they just don't understand the movements yet, we actually have time where we can spend more time with that individual or more time with those group of people so that they can get the most from it, as opposed to feeling like you can't spend enough time with one person, because it means then that the rest of the class is then missing out on potential coaching. So through those first 4 weeks, really all we're looking to do is to get people moving well, get them moving safely, starting to understand where their end ranges of movement are, and starting to get them to integrate within the community. So starting to introduce them to other people within the community, so that when they're coming in, because we know, not necessarily more, I think more so in a CrossFit box than anywhere else, but it's the same across any gym. Those first few steps into the gym are incredibly, what's the word? Incredibly intimidating. And I think even more so within a CrossFit box. You know, if you go into a CrossFit box, and generally the way that boxes work is that you'll have back-to-back classes, same as you would do for a group exercise timetable. And it can be, and I imagine it's incredibly scary if you come into a box, you see people chucking bars around, there's lots of noise, there's lots of movement, and you just have that, oh shit, what have I signed up for here?
Yeah.
So we try and integrate people into that as quickly as they can, because actually the more comfortable they are within that environment, the more open they are to learning, the quicker they can be moving better, the quicker they can be moving safer, because it puts them in a much better learning place, as opposed to just that constant feeling of, oh shit, I don't feel like I should be here. This isn't for me. I'm not strong enough, fit enough, whatever. Insert your excuse here. You know, I'm not ready for this yet. So the quicker we can get an understanding this is, hey, this is normal and this is okay, and for you to do this is normal and okay, the better.
How would you go about doing that? Like, would you like invite them to simply watch a workout, or I know you've got the little bit of a viewing gallery upstairs, or would you say like, come 10 minutes early so as you can watch the last workout finishing, that sort of thing?
Yeah, we always recommend people get there a little bit earlier, because it also means then that coaches can introduce themselves to these new members. The good thing that we have with our booking system is that it recognizes who new people are for classes. So it flags them up so that if coaches aren't sure, it might just go, obviously we have people that come at different times, they can actually look and say, well, okay, well, this person is new, or I'm expecting a new person this evening, so they can look out for them. They can go, they can introduce themselves, they can give them a bit of an understanding as to what they should be doing. Our coffee area upstairs is really cool, because actually it's got a viewing area over the entire gym, which means that if people do want to come, they can sit and chill out, or whether it's a new member that just wants to kind of come and into a quieter space and just watch for a little while, then that's absolutely something that they can do.
What I'm kind of laughing as I ask this. What is the one thing a new person to CrossFit wants to do? I guess a complete Fran in under 2 minutes.
I think it's the same. I mean, you get some outliers. The outliers that I would suggest are actually the again, in inverted commas, the athletes. So people that are looking to compete are generally the outliers within CrossFit, because they're not what make up the basis of your membership. Generally, people that want to come and do CrossFit, well, they want to get a bit healthier. They probably want to lose a little bit of weight. They want to get a bit fitter. They want to get a bit stronger. It's exactly the same person. It's exactly the same demographic as would walk into a commercial gym or a global gym. I don't see that being any different whatsoever. There are going to be those outliers. So there's one or two people that want to come, that want to be competitive, but they are a very small percentage of your membership.
What say when they're coming in for the first time, and like I said, is there a move or skill set that people need to spend the most time with? Or what do you find yourself coaching more so than anything else?
Other than the really complicated lifts, so other than your cleans and your snatches, honestly, it's getting people into their squat patterns. Like just getting people to understand how to squat well, and how to, and where to squat to, and just getting people squatting safely. And the good thing is, once you can get people squatting safely, you have a really, really big transference across into so many other skills as well. So if your foundational point of, I have got a really, really solid squat, well, that can then transfer across into other things as well. So that transfers across into other really basic movements that we do, but also into those much higher skill movements. So things like your squat cleans and your squat snatches. Like if you have a super solid squat, then those movements will be easier for you, because you are already in a really nicely balanced position. You are already demonstrating really good mobility to be able to get into those positions. Now all we need to do is to start to refine it a little bit more.
I put some questions out on Facebook, not on Instagram for us. So I'll do them now. Normally I wait like right to the back end. I thought I'd do them now. How do you feel about that?
I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm slightly scared as to what you might ask me, but I'm okay with that.
A couple came through. which is
a couple came.
Always nice, yeah.
Well, you know, it's nice. It's nice that the same come through. You know, because that could have been. Have some questions. There are none.
I only put it up at 11. So the first question is, and she quickly followed this up with another question, is why you so hot? Kidding. Do not ask that. So.
Really, it's all down to just moisturizer and coffee and no sleep,
fillers
and filter. Well, fillers and filters. You know, if you at the end of the day, if you put enough filters on anything, you can polish a turd however you like.
This one comes from Lauren. How will you feel when Clark beats you in a workout?
Really proud. Really proud. Also, by the way, Lauren is really assuming that he doesn't already beat me in workouts.
I've seen Sam posting videos of him like playing and all on the kit, like he's on the assault bike and all that, or you called it something else. I've probably
an echo bike, but it's the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets involved and he sees it all.
Yeah, absolutely loves it. I think there's a video. I think Sam's got a video floating around of him following me in a little red car while I'm doing a handstand walk, which is slightly frightening because he is a little bit close, and I am genuinely worried if I kick down, I'm just going to kick him. But it's fine.
Yeah. Can he rope climb?
He can rope swing, so he has the strength and the power to actually hold himself under grip. He's not quite at a stage yet where we're like, right, climb. Now this is how we J-clip on a rope, and this is how we fast descend.
Yeah,
we're not quite there yet.
J-clip. He will be the only 4-year-old going back to school, whenever that is, who knows how to J-clip or even knows that word.
100%. It's really funny because obviously at school he does PT on a regular basis. He does PE on a regular basis. And I keep feeling like I need to send him in his Strength Lab CrossFit hoodie, just as like a proper power play on the teacher to be like, look, don't think that my son doesn't know how to exercise, bitches.
Well, technically, if you put him in a CrossFit hoodie, so Strength Lab CrossFit hoodie, and send him to school, that then becomes a business cost.
And I can just write it off.
You can
just write it off.
Everything that you buy him that day, that week, is obviously a business cost. Because I was thinking about this. We got the crate in for Causeway when he arrives, and I set my laptop on it to film some stuff. His desk. And I was like, this is a business expense. This is essentially, this is a tripod. This is a desk. Yeah. And
written off to the tax man.
That's it. I've only got the crate because I'm getting the dog. So obviously now the dog is now a tax expense as well, plus all this food for the next 10 years.
I think that's fair. I mean, even if you can't claim all of it, you should be able to claim a percentage of that, surely.
I don't know if you saw my Instagram this morning. I did my tax return yesterday, and the HMRC their website is the most complicated. It's got worse. Like, it was never simple, but it has got worse. Government ID, gateway passwords, mother's maiden name. Then we'll text you a code. You put in all your information, which is complicated in itself. Then it asked me to log in again with a separate password.
Yeah. And then you have to go and find the scroll that's in the bottom of your garden that's guarded by goblins.
That's where I didn't do that. That's why it was so hard.
Also, dude, it was the 19th yesterday. How are you just doing your tax return? Get an accountant.
Oh, you always do it at the last. Then you're like,
no.
Then you're top or bottom of the pile, and nobody cares.
No, get an accountant. get an accountant. It's so much easier, and you don't have to stress about the website then.
The way I do it, I've done it the same way every year. Well, I say the last 2 years, because I use QuickBooks. Yeah. So it kind of does it for you, and essentially all you're having to do is drop and drag information. So for anyone who doesn't, like, the old shoebox with receipts. So for anyone who's still to do that, like, that's a long afternoon.
Oh, like I still remember the days of doing the self-employment tax return, and it still fills me with dread. Yeah, like, getting an accountant has been the best thing I think I've ever done. Yeah, where I can just be like, there you go. Yeah, good luck dealing with that.
Yeah, because when you pay your accountant, whatever you pay him or her, you're like, it's tax deductible in a sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And it just means that then, rather than you having to sift through that shoebox of receipts, They have to sift through that shoebox of receipts. Do you have your receipts for this year? Yes. Here you go.
Yeah.
Are they neat? Are they in a neat order? No, they are not.
They're in the one place.
Oh, yeah, I mean, at least, yeah. Oh, wait, and I've got a few in my pocket as well that maybe I can claim or not claim. I'm not sure yet.
This question, I love this question because it's the kind of weird questions I would ask. If you could only do one CrossFit named workout for the rest of your life, what would it be? So I'm going to make this question a little bit more specific. You're never allowed to do another workout. You're only allowed to do this CrossFit named workout.
Okay.
What would it be?
Well, that's a really tough one.
I know.
Because it would be really easy just to pick probably my favorite one.
What would be your favorite?
So my favorite is probably DT. So DT is 5 rounds of 12 deadlifts, 9 hang power cleans, 6 shoulder to overhead. I think in terms of overall, maybe something like,
I know.
Oh, there's so many. There really is so many. Can I pick 2?
Yeah, sure. Let's.
Because one of them's got. Well, no, I'm not. I'll stick to the question. Let's go with Nate. So Nate is a 20-minute AMRAP of ring muscle ups, handstand push-ups, and kettlebell overhead swings. I think it's a 2. I want to say it's not 246. Maybe it is a 246. Maybe it's a 4, 8, 12. I can't remember what the rep scheme is for the muscle ups, handstand push-ups, and swings, but it's a relatively long workout. It allows you for a good level of conditioning. You get some lifting stuff in there with the kettlebell swings. You get a lot of gymnastics work in there. You get a nice kind of mixture of push, pull, and you don't have to squat because, let's be honest, squatting's not useful. Not when you get to master's age and your knees start to hurt.
Oh, that's right. But to be fair, I know you said your master's age. You're like on a youth contract of the master's ages.
I am what's known as a level 1 master, I believe. a first Dan master.
If I was picking a workout, I would probably be a little bit more holistic, and I would think about like long-term sort of, can I still do this when I'm like a level 7 masters, if that exists?
I'm expecting to be dead by the time I'm a level 7 masters, so I'll not stress about that.
I don't have as big a knowledge of the named workouts. I'd look at something simple like Michael, or even Murph, because it's quite simple. Like, it's hard, but like it's simple. You know, mile run, 300, 200, 100, 1.5 mile run. And then Michael, from memory, 800 meters, run 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, 50 back extensions. It's meant to be on a
GHD.
It's meant to be on that, but you can obviously just do it on the floor. It's 3 rounds of that or something. I would just pick something like that because there's no muscle ups in it. There's no kipping in it. There's none of that.
There's none of that shoulder wrecking nonsense, or apparent shoulder wrecking nonsense.
Yeah. This one's from Adam. Interesting question. How do you rate ROM WODs? Do you still do them? I remember you used to do them quite a bit.
So I've switched over now. So I don't do ROM WOD. I do something called Go WOD. Okay. So ROM WOD has some really good positives and not necessarily negatives, but things that I feel that they can improve on. It's great for getting people stretching. Like, it's great to help people's mobility. It's a really nice holistic thing for people to be doing. The downside of it is that there's the potential there for perhaps doing stretches that you shouldn't necessarily, or that you don't necessarily need to be doing. So, for example, if you're particularly mobile in a particular area, they might actually have like a really long section that's absolutely dedicated to that, which in terms of your development for your mobility is not necessarily useful. That's where, for me personally, something like Go WOD is a little bit different, because your stretches are calibrated to you. So the way that Go WOD works is you do a mobility test, and it then gives you a load of stretches based off what your results are from that. Okay. And it then retests that on a regular basis. So you have this idea of like, okay, well, it works just like CrossFit does. You know, it's something that's measurable.
Yeah.
So is me doing this stretching actually helping me get more on my bar? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm.
Something like a ROMWOD doesn't necessarily do that. The other thing with ROMWOD is, and I mean this with the greatest respect, but the guy's voice does my head in. So having come from a group fitness background and having a relative understanding as to how a group fitness class should be taught, that's not how a group fitness class should be taught. You know, we always talk about the fact that, you know, not obviously with the Les Mills side of things and with music driven classes, it's very much about letting the music speak, but actually also just giving your participants time to think about things and to actually take on board what you're saying and having then time to apply it. Whereas something like ROMWOD, you just don't get that. The guy talks from start to finish, and it genuinely feels like he doesn't take a break. Like he doesn't breathe. Like he just talks, and I'm just like, oh, dude, please shut up. Because I just like, yeah.
I can relate massively, because when we're doing like Les Mills on demand in the house, and the instructors just don't shut up, and like I'll maybe have the headphones in so Lindsay can't hear exactly what I'm listening to, and I'll just be like doing a deadlift, and then all of a sudden I'll just say fuck up, stop talking, and she is pissing herself laughing at me because I'm just like straight. I have that weird rage which at advice. I'm blaming advice. I would throw my phone at the wall to just please talk less. The next question is, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I understand it. I understand that, like, you know, you need to be guided through it. There's certain teaching points that you need to hit, and this and that and the other.
Yeah.
But there's also times where actually, and it's the same with the group fitness thing as well. There are times where you need to shut up and you need to let people actually take on board what it is that you're saying and apply it to themselves. Like it's the same with any level of coaching, right? It doesn't matter if I'm coaching a Les Mills class. It doesn't matter if I'm coaching a CrossFit class. If I keep talking at people, eventually they just shut off. Like at some point I have to say something and then step back and then be like, right, okay, well, I'm going to be a bit hands off at the minute. I just kind of want to see how you get on. And then I'll give my next cue based on that, rather than just say, okay, we can do this and that.
Yeah. Like a complete Les Mills snob that I am, when I see people doing workouts online, like Instagram Live, I'll go on, I'll have a look at what they're doing, and like they'll have their title, you know, Tabata hit workout, awesome tunes today, and you turn it on, you can't hear any music because all they're doing is talking.
Or just talking. Yep. Great. I'm sure your tunes were great. I bet you really enjoyed them. Everybody else, not a clue as to what they're listening to.
It could have been anything. Could have been, you know, the same music you used when you were 20, you know, when you were 20, when you were 15. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Next one is from Kenny. With your CrossFit experience, would your Les Mills approach be any different now?
I guess it depends in terms of what. So if I'd done my CrossFit level 1 earlier, I believe I would have done my lecturing very differently, very much sooner. So when I went and did my level 1, that was a huge thing that I took away from it. Not necessarily the content of the level 1. The content is there, the content is useful, but at the end of the day, it is still it's a basic fitness qualification. Mm-hmm. What I really took away from my level 1 was actually the way that they delivered that content, and I'm yet to see. I don't know if it's just the flow masters that I had, but it was the same for my level 2 as well. I'm yet to see people deliver content as well as the red shirt seminar staff do. I think it's incredible, and anybody that is in any form of lecturing, if you ever get an opportunity to go and do something like that, just for your own development, not necessarily in terms of like, I want to go and do CrossFit, but just in terms of I want to be better at lecturing. I want to be better at being able to, you know, deliver a subject on something. 100% should go and do that. In terms of training, I wouldn't teach as many classes as I used to. Like, I mean, I train a lot now, but I still think actually in terms of my overall training volume, now, despite the fact that I hit normally double day sessions, so I hit 2-a-day sessions, I think my overall training volume is lower now than it was when I was teaching, and it's certainly lower now than when I was teaching at my peak of doing freelancing where I was doing like multiple classes a day. Not good. I get it. Like it's a living, but at the end of the day, you also need to live.
This is the same kind of topic that comes up. So like, if I'm just going to put you all in the same bracket here just to make this easy. I've had you on the podcast. I've had Kate Slee on. I've had Michelle Nichols on. I'm trying to think of a few others who've maybe, stopped teaching Les Mills. I've Sarah Fox on and a few others. And this is the one thing a lot of people says about the actual teaching volume, that they taught too much. So what's too much to you?
I think a lot of it depends on what you're teaching. I think a lot of it depends on what your fitness levels are. It's the same with anything. What is too much with anything with fitness? It's that thing of, when you are starting to get to that point of overreaching, when you are starting to get to that point of overtraining, you need to be taking that time back. And the problem that you have, and not necessarily just from a Les Mills perspective, but just from an overall group fitness perspective, in terms of if you're teaching, it's very difficult to do that. Because the vast majority of people are self-employed. At the end of the day, this is how they pay their bills. So I have been there, done it. I absolutely get it. It's that thing of, if I teach an extra class or two this week, it means that I can do X and Y and Z. It means that, I know that my bills are paid. I know that I can go and do some fun things, but the problem is that you're absolutely fucked. So you can't really go and do any fun things because your body is absolutely buckled. I don't necessarily think I don't think there's a number in terms of like, you should be teaching this many classes per week. Because as I said, that's very much going to be down to what you're teaching. It's going to be down to what you have available. I mean, for me personally, I look at it as, I think of the bathtub analogy. This idea of, your bathtub is how much stress that you can manage.
We're actually doing a bathtub analogy. I thought I misheard you. You've actually said right. Continue bathtub.
Yeah. So a bathtub analogy.
Hugh and Ricky are in your bath right now for everyone listening. Right?
There is definitely rubber ducks involved. So the idea behind the bathtub analogy is really simple. Like you can only hold so much stress. You can only hold so much water within a bathtub. The problem is, as soon as your bathtub gets full, if you continue to add stress with that, eventually it pisses out over the side and wrecks your house. And it's exactly the same thing in terms of stress as well. And that stress isn't necessarily just in terms of your mental stress, it's your physical stress as well. So it's, if you are teaching or if you are training a lot, well, that's going to raise that level of water level by however much you're doing it. If you then add on a load of additional stresses on top of that as well, so that could be just general lifestyle stresses that we all have on a regular basis, that raises that water level even more. Now, it might be that because of those lifestyle stresses, that takes that water level up and over what you're actually able to manage. So what you need to then do is to be able to say, right, okay, well, what can I do to now take the plug out and to reduce some of that level so that it's not spilling out everywhere? Now, that might be that you say, right, okay, so I need to reduce my training volume. Because actually, generally with lifestyle stresses, there's not a whole heap that you can do with it. So it's that thing of like, right, okay, so now I need to be able to reduce my training volume so that now I can actually manage my overall stress levels much, much better.
I like that analogy. And it's just for making it simple for people. It's if you're doing 10 body pumps a week, that's probably a lot of body pump. Whereas, and if you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, I need to teach 10 because of X amount of money, well, you could reduce your volume by doing 8 body pumps and 2 yoga classes, body balance, or you could, heaven forbid, teach a couple of those body pump classes with a lesser weight than what you're capable of lifting. And it's managing the bathtub level. Yeah,
absolutely.
So it's kind of you're almost trying to bail water. To stop.
You're basically trying to, because the stresses are always going to be there. So it's never going to be something as simple as, so the idea behind the stresses is the stresses are the taps. At no point are you ever going to be able to turn the taps off. You are always going to have levels of stress. So instead, what you need to look at is, okay, well, what can I do to stop this overflow? So if it was your bathtub, if you could not turn the taps off, what would you do? Well, you would take the plug out, because that would then start to drop that water level back down again. Or if you couldn't turn the taps off fully, you would try and reduce them as much as you could. So you try and reduce those stress levels as much as you can. You try and take the plug out so that you can balance that stress level back out again.
I'm going to call this podcast Bath Time with Huw Davis.
I can go and sit in the bathtub if you want. It'll sound like I'm just sitting on the toilet having a poo. But if it helps for an Instagram post, hey, I'm all
Anything
over
for
it.
the gram.
Exactly.
See, the fortunate thing with this pandemic is not just Les Mills instructors. No, we're going to talk about that, but freelance instructors generally, and Les Mills specifically, I believe, hope that they'll have got some self-value. So let's talk Les Mills specifically. There's going to be a lot less facilities who are offering Les Mills classes in the way they used to, whether they're offering them at all, whether it's all in-house, whether they're using freelancers. So it'll mean when, Gym X phones Ricky Long and said, do you want to come and teach a body pump class? Instead of me just saying, right, I'm going to bend over and just say, yes, I'll come and teach that class no matter what, that my response will now have questions.
Yeah.
And it'll be, yes, I will come and teach it. Here are my requirements. It's going to take me 20 minutes to get there. I've needed to learn this release. If I'm going to teach on a regular basis for you and we go into another lockdown, what guarantees do I have?
Yeah.
And these are questions that need to be had, because like I said, so back to what we're kind of saying, imagine you were doing 10 body pumps a weekend. That is too much for you. All of a sudden the gym opens again. Well, there's only 5 body pumps on offer, but that means you're actually in a stronger position. So, well, as a gym, you're only offering 5 body pumps to all your members. So if you want me to teach them, it comes at a premium.
Yeah.
Rather than 10 classes at slightly less.
The only issue I think that you'll ever have with that is I don't know if instructors will actually realize how valuable they are in that situation. I don't think they realize the point that actually, and having been there, I did exactly the same thing. Of you get offered a class, you jump at it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it will probably be even more so after lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if instructors can really get their heads on and can really get squared away, and it almost needs to become that ability of all getting together and saying, this is what we're going at.
Yeah.
Which, how that would happen, I've honestly got no idea. There'll be smarter people than me that could maybe sort that out.
It's another Facebook group. I can feel
I was
another
say
Facebook group.
That's a job for you, that one. But the problem is that if they don't have that, then they don't have that level of power, because all that will simply happen is that, having been off lockdown, and especially if that's people's sole source of income, the difficult thing that people will then have is that thing of, okay, well, now I need to try and teach as many classes as I can.
Yeah.
Because I need to be able to bank everything I can if another lockdown comes in.
Yeah.
So let's take this 10 body pump analogy again. So say before you've been teaching 10 body pumps, and you can go back and you maybe not teaching 10 body pumps, you're now maybe teaching 5 body pumps and 2 circuits and 3 spins. Well, now you say, okay, well, actually there's a potential for another lockdown in, let's say, 3 months time. Well, already my stress level is at absolute maximum with these 10 classes.
Yeah.
But actually I need to be able to find space for another 5 or another 10 classes on top of that. So now you're not teaching those 10, you're now teaching 15 or 20.
Yeah.
Because now you're going to take those 5 or 10 and kind of say, right, okay, well, I need to be able to put that away for the next lockdown fund if it's going to happen again, which we don't know. That's the difficult thing, and that's the unfortunate side of things, of where the power potentially can come back to the gyms. And it puts freelancers especially in a really, really crappy situation in that one, because it's the thing then of they will feel far less in control of their bathtub.
Yeah.
Because, again, I have to be able to get these additional classes in, because, these last few months of not earning or not earning as much as I would do normally are a huge stress point.
I had we'll call it interesting. I had a remarkable conversation with an instructor last week, and she was basically saying, when the gyms open again, I don't know if I'll go back and teach classes. And I was like, well, why do you say that? And she was, well, I haven't been paid for a class since March 2020. So I don't really miss the money. Like I've got used to not having that money. I'm getting my money from elsewhere. She's got without giving, she's got a job. She's got income. She's not like claiming money, is what I'm trying to say. She's like, so I don't know if I'll go back to teaching. And I was like, well, why is this the problem? Like, why you tell me? And she was, well, I enjoy teaching. And I said, well, that puts you in a stronger position then.
Massively.
You could, if you wanted to, you could go and do it for free because you enjoy it just for your workout. And when I say for free, get a couple of quid for it. It covers your outgoings, like break even from a business point of view. Don't do it for free.
Yeah.
Or secondly, if that gym wants you, it
They
now
have to pay you.
comes, it comes at a premium. You know, like I said, Ricky, will you come and do a class for 20 quid? No, I won't.
No.
If you want me to come and teach, it's 40 quid.
Yeah.
It puts you in that stronger position. I think I hope there's a lot of instructors who have almost just got used to life since March without teaching classes.
Yeah, because if they can stay with that, the power will stay with them, because then it comes back to that simple thing of, you know, well, from a club perspective or from a gym perspective, if your instructors don't want to teach you for you, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, obviously, yes, there are other options as well, but actually, you know, fine well it's never going to be as good as a live class.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a really simple way of getting that across to people is think about the difference between catching up with people on Zoom and actually going and getting to catch up with people face to face.
Yeah.
It's been the one thing that people have missed over the course of this entire shitty lockdown. It's not that we can't catch up with each other, because we fucking can. We can just phone each other or message each other or get on Zoom or get on Teams, and you can have a catch up and hey, you can see each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still shit. It's still not as good as actually going and having a coffee or having a beer or having a whatever, and actually being like, hey, I can actually touch you. Not in that sense, but you know what I mean.
Bath time touching with Huw.
Bath time touching. You know, this is taking a very odd turn, isn't it? But that's the one thing that people have missed over the course of this entire lockdown, which is it's going to be the one thing that people are going to want out the back of lockdown.
So Simon Sinek talks very well about it in his books, and like humans, we have that need to be a part of something.
Yeah.
That CrossFit community, that Les Mills One United mentality. I had to change that word carefully. We have that need, or you go into a Facebook group, like my bank is with Monzo. You go into the Monzo Facebook group, and people are just so passionate. And like if you mention Revolut in there, like you're blackmarked in there.
Yeah.
Like you get all the haters coming out. We're not Revolut, we're Monzo. And you're right about what you say. Like we'll probably do therapy in a year's time for many, many things, but people will just have all these scars from Zoom because we're just used to seeing people in 2D. Yeah. And when we can see in 3 dimensions again and like touch people, as you said, it'll be bizarre. I asked Michelle this. I'm going to ask you this as well. Are you in any way concerned that in like 10, 15 years time, when you are shouting at Clark for something, like for, leaving the kitchen messy or something, he is just going to turn around to you and say, what do you know? I lived through a pandemic before I was even 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair comment.
The kids of today are going to use that as a weapon.
But when you're 5, you've got no clue. You don't know which way is up. You barely know your ass from your elbow at that point.
Yeah, but by the time he's 10, 15, you'll have learnt all this. I lived through a pandemic, go me.
But son, I kept you alive during that pandemic. The reason that you're still here is because I kept you alive in that pandemic.
I wore a mask for you.
You think you survived? Just you wait.
Oh, you can show them pictures of this is a time we went to Morrison's wearing a mask.
This is the time that we sat in the lounge. This is the time where we tried to do homeschooling. This is the time you didn't want to do homeschooling.
Because my granddad would have shown me or told me stories about how they were going to get rations during the war in the 1940s. And we're now going to tell our kids, I went to Tesco's wearing a mask and gloves and I had to sanitize my hands and my trolley.
It was terrible. Yeah. However, did we survive?
Oh, yeah. Right. I'm going to go on to the last couple of questions. Books, podcasts. What books and podcasts are on your list right now?
So books, audio. I've got an audio book that's on the go at the minute, which is the Iron Cowboy book, which is it's redefining possible. If you've not, I don't actually even know if it's still on Netflix.
It is, because I looked it up
still
last week when you messaged me about how he's doing 100 now.
Yeah, 100 and 100 days.
Yeah.
Mental.
Yeah.
So his audio book is really interesting. The downside, so you know the voice that you have at the start of this that says this meeting is being recorded. So it's not him that reads the book. It's basically a computer voice. So if you can get over that, which so normally with an audio book, whenever I'm in the car, I'll always put an audio book on. I can only listen to it in small chunks because it's the Romward guy again. Like the voice just bothers me.
Yeah.
So because of that, it's quite long going. Like it's a long book anyway.
I'm assuming that's about 50 Ironman in 50 days.
Yeah. So it's Redefining Impossible. James, I can't think of his last name, but it's the Iron Cowboy one. Definitely worth a listen. If you can get over the voice, it's really worth a listen. Yeah. The other one that I recently listened to was Tyson Fury Behind the Mask. That was really interesting. And so for me, like Tyson Fury, I'm not a fan of Tyson Fury. I'm not a fan, but I'm also not a fan of Tyson Fury. Having listened to that, I'm now way more of a fan of Tyson Fury. And like, even if you're not into boxing, just the fact that he talks about like his struggles with mental health and how he's come out the other side and everything like that, incredible. Definitely worth a listen.
He's about the only boxer. I'm not into boxing. I'm not into contact sports, violence, fighting. I'm not into those types of sports. I don't watch them. Don't watch UFC. Tyson Fury is probably the few. What's the word I'm looking for here? Martial arts, fighting, combat athletes.
Combat athletes.
Yeah. Who in my lifetime I've looked at and thought, I would actually listen to him. I would go to hear him speak, because I know he's a little bit real. Like he talks about his mental health and he talks about it's not hard getting into the ring and fighting another person. What's hard is not being able to get out of bed and not being able to feed your family because you don't know where the next paycheck's coming from, and you've got depression and pressure of schools and all. That's hard, but like being an athlete, actually, this is fun.
Yeah, it's a really interesting book. It's definitely worth listening, and even if you're not a fan of combat sports, it's a really interesting take on things, and it's really, really good. Definitely worth a listen.
Best item under £100 you have bought. I haven't asked this question in a while, you're bringing this back. Maybe bought recently is a better way to ask it. Best item under £100.
I guess it depends on what you want it for, doesn't it? Really.
That's intriguing.
That's what she said. I mean, I'm assuming that they're under 100 quid. Under 100 quid. Let's do something fitnessy would be something as simple as, I say under 100 quid, it depends on the price gouges at the minute. Something like a dumbbell or a kettlebell. If fitness is your thing, something like a foam roller. If fitness is not your thing, then I think you can get Kindles for under 100 quid now, can't you? Or a Kindle type thing.
Yeah, technically, if you've got an iPhone, you've got a Kindle because you can get the app for pay. You know how you pay for Audible? You can pay for Kindle, and you can get it on your phone. Yeah. So
okay, we'll go with that. And so something fitnessy would be like a dumbbell or a kettlebell and a foam roller, easily under 100 quid, and then something Kindle-esque.
Lindsay's just
there are other products available.
Lindsay's just back from her run. Hold on. I'll get her on. Come in.
Who's this?
It's who?
Yeah!
Hiya! Oh.
They're on her face. Look at his face. Oh.
He's a cutie. When do you get him?
3 weeks.
Is that it?
Yeah. Valentine's.
Are you all set? Are you all like? Do you have everything?
No.
I say everything. I say everything like it's child. You have a crate. You have toys. You don't need to buy food yet. You're still 3 weeks out.
Yeah, and she gives us some food. You know, when we
Oh,
get,
there you go.
so like he'll be fine for a day before we need to.
Oh, he'll be fine then.
Yeah. Well, what
Yeah.
else?
Before you need to do a big shot.
Yeah, I've got the mat for the car for when he goes in the car, and so as he doesn't
Nice.
pick the car up. So I've got the important things.
You've protected the car. That's the important thing.
I just met the Frau as well.
You've had a great run.
I know.
How far did you
A
run?
cross between a French bulldog and a chow chow. A Frau. I know.
That's not a real. That's not a real dog.
I know that.
It's just not.
I know.
It's not a real dog.
What was the other one in the group?
The Frau.
Was that for as well? I'll show you a picture of it. It's so cute. So cute.
Oh, but it's not a real dog.
Yeah. This
Oh, you recorded?
this is all going in the podcast.
Okay.
This is all going in. This is all brilliant content.
What I was going to say, what's next for you today?
What have I got next today? Training a little bit later on. Zoom classes later on. So we've got Zoom classes this evening. Yeah, and training this afternoon, and that's me for today.
This probably leads on to the very last question I'm going to ask then, which I haven't prepped you for. What would your message be for your members right now? So we've just been told in Scotland, obviously it's middle of February before the next announcement, which doesn't mean it's the middle of February before we're out of lockdown and blah, blah, blah. It's the middle of February before restrictions are announced. So what would your kind of message be to, and let's be really, really specific here, like just your members, talk to them.
Stick with it. Stick with us, guys. There will be an end to this. We've done this shit before. We can do it all again. The panic at the minute, I think, for a lot of people is going to be, so we have the Open coming up. You guys don't need to worry. You are well prepped for everything. Your strength, your fitness, your health across the board in terms of your physical health and your mental health. We have got you. We have got you.
Love that. Conscious of time, but you've just given me another question. What's the Open going to look like this year? Because the world's the way it is. Or New Zealand and Australia just going to win the Open.
Do you know what? So there's been some really big changes to the season this year. So the Open, I'm sure even when you did CrossFit, the Open was 5 weeks long.
Yeah.
It's now 3 weeks.
Okay.
I don't know whether or not you would have had this when you did the Open, actually. Did you have a scaled division at the Open? Or were you before the scaled division?
I was 2008.
Okay, so initially they literally had no divisions, right? You literally did the Open and that was it. They then kind of went, right, well, we'll now do RX or scaled. So you can do the workout as prescribed or you can scale it, and this is how you scale it. They then split it into age groups, which they still have. They're now splitting it into, you have RX, scaled, and they also now have an equipment-free version as well. And the way that it works now, so rather than it being, so historically, you had the Open. From the Open, you then had the top 40 from each region go to regionals, and then the top 5 from regionals then went to the games. Yeah. The way that it works now is that you have 3 weeks of the Open. From there, the top 10% in each category then move on to the next phase. So the next phase then is the quarterfinals. From the quarterfinals, they've not said how many are moving on to the semifinals, but it's then the semifinals. The quarterfinals are also online. The semifinals are a live competition, which will be much later in the year. And then you'll have the finals, which is the games. Okay. They're talking like August time for that at the minute.
I'm sure they've thought of this, but what's the stop? So, like, you're good at CrossFit.
Good.
What's
in
the
inverted commas?
What's the stop you not doing the RX version and just doing the scale version, where instead of just being good at scaled, you would be elite because you're scaling in workouts? What's the stop people doing that?
If you do one rep, so let's say, let's take the workout Fran. So turn on 59 thrusters and pull-ups. Let's say the RX weight for guys is 43 kilos on the thrusters, and the scaled weight for guys would be 30 kilos. If I did one thruster at 43 kilos, but did not complete the rest of the workout, I would still score higher than you if you had scaled and done it in a minute 30.
Right.
So if you RX a workout, you automatically place higher than anybody that has scaled, which means that you will always go on to the next phase, or you're more likely to go on to the next phase than somebody that's scaled.
But what if you did all your events and every single rep on a scaled?
You still would score lower than anybody that RX'd.
But you could still be the best of the scaled.
Doesn't matter. There's not a further step for the scaled. Congratulations, you're good at a scaled workout, and that's it.
Right. Okay, I'm with you now. I would just say like
there's so the overall leaderboard. So if you're almost so you've got, let's just for ease of numbers, let's just say 100 people. Let's say 50 of them RX and 50 of them scaled. The 50 that RX, it doesn't matter what their score is. It doesn't matter how many reps they got. They're always above the people that have scaled. So if let's take it as an as many reps as possible thing. If somebody RX'd a weight or a movement and they did just one rep, so let's say it starts with bicep curls, and you RX the bicep curl, you only do one rep, you still score higher than somebody that did 1,000 reps scaled bicep curls.
Is there a CrossFit workout with bicep curls in it?
No, but there is one with roly polies.
What's a roly poly?
Like a forward roll. Like a forward roll on the floor.
You're so CrossFit. Yeah, it's called a forward roll. Why are you calling it a roly poly?
It's a roly poly. That's not a CrossFit terminology. It's just a fucking roly poly. Like a jam roly poly. Like, how do you make a roly poly? You twist it and turn it. How do you do a roly poly? You twist and turn on the floor. It's a roly
How do
poly.
you call it a forward roll?
It's a forward roll. There you go. A forward roll.
A roly poly.
Roly poly. Come on. Everyone knows what a roly poly is.
Do you know what a roly poly is? She actually, yeah, she knows. She knows.
I was going to say, ask Lindsay. I bet she knows.
Yeah, we did roly polies the other day, and then we did forward rolls. It's probably how we should finish the podcast.
On roly polies.
I've loved having you on. I'm going to put all your details in the show notes where people can follow you and follow the Strength Lab. So yeah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, dude.